So in TOK class, we talk a lot and think a lot about language because it's very important in how we make up our reality. And we often have associations and assumptions about words, and we don't think about it too often. I think we should think about it more often. Take the word knowledge, for example. To me, it sounds solid and hefty, as if it refers to something definitive and long-lasting, everlasting maybe. But actually, if you think about it, knowledge changes all the time. And I don't mean in the way that we get new knowledge which shows that old knowledge is wrong. I mean in the way we conceptualize what counts as knowledge. In different times, knowledge is conceptualized in different ways. And this is largely, not completely, but largely to do with the available technologies. McLuhan is famous for having said, the medium is the message. Once, before we had writing, for example, we relied on bards to memorize the histories and the wisdom of groups of people. They often did this in verse or narrative because these both help memory. With the onset of the Industrial Revolution, however, and the invention of the printing press, the mass production of books vastly changed our knowledge concept. Bards lost their exclusive rights, and writers, along with readers, proliferated. The field of knowledge expanded, and there was a need for an education system that developed literacy skills, because these are necessary to access books. Now, the change from the medium of oracy to books put in place a new way of conceiving knowledge. Books are bound. Knowledge in them is bounded. It's linear. It goes from page 1, 2, 3, and so on. And you have to follow those pages in a logical manner. If you think of the word bound, maybe you think of the word boundary. Something's closed off. Bound is also connected to the word bind or binding, which means fixed, agreed upon, non-negotiable. Again, think the medium is the message somehow. So book-based knowledge is stable, it's true, it's fixed, it's factual, and everyone can learn it. Everyone can learn it from a textbook in a particular subject. Usually in this way of thinking about knowledge, each subject has its own textbook. And I've heard people say in the past, I know it's true because I've read it in a book. So what's happened now that knowledge is not just in books anymore, but has been transferred to a web base or a net base. What about here? What's the message here from the medium being the messenger? Well, if you've ever watched a spider weave a web, or you're familiar with making nets, you know that they are not bounded. They can grow in any direction, and they can be broken down and regrow. And you can move about a net or a web in a very different way than you can go through a book. So it's changed the way we think of knowledge. It's not bounded. It's open. It's changing all the time. It's unstable. And we don't believe everything anymore that we read about or hear about. We have fake news. So this has got very big implications for students and for education, because it's not enough to say this is the textbook and you must learn everything in here and then you'll know all about this subject. You have to also teach them critical thinking skills for all the information and the knowledge that they'll come across outside the textbook, on the internet or on the web. So media literacy in particular has become one of the most important things that we have to teach in school.